I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Juggle is Real podcast. My name is Andriana, and we have such an incredible conversation to share with you today. It's all about receiving help and being able to release guilt, especially in motherhood. But as women, I feel like we're often saying no to things when we could be saying yes. And we're feeling bad and the guilt is creeping up, but it doesn't have to be. And I'm so happy to share a conversation that I just had with Lexi Miles Corrin, who is doing incredible things and not feeling bad or apologizing for the support that she needs in order to be the incredible person that she is. Lexi is the founder and CEO of WAXON Laser and Waxbar, which is an all-inclusive beauty and wellness brand dedicated to helping everyone live life more confidently in their own skin. Also the owner of South, a line of intimate skincare. Since opening WAXON's Toronto flagship location over a decade ago, Lexi has built a strong and successful franchise platform for women to make their business dreams come true. With 20 locations across Canada and growing, Lexi continues to lead the growth of the WAXON brand and empower women to build their confidence and gain financial independence while providing clients with the smoothest experience every time. She mentors her team and franchise partners to help them become as successful as possible in all aspects of their business. And in addition to establishing WAXON as a revolutionary hair removal experience and brand, she's also the host of the We Go There podcast, where Lexi strives to create a safe space where no question is off limits and opens up the conversation around women's health and wellness. Lexi is a mom of 4 children who are ages 5 and under. She is a champion for women's empowerment and a mentor to the next generation of entrepreneurs, supporting them in building confidence, independence, and wealth for themselves. Let's get into this conversation so we can all learn how to say yes, receive more help, and release the guilt. Let's dive right in. Hey, I'm Andriana Gonco, and this is the Juggle is Real podcast. As I share my ongoing journey from experiencing burnout to leading a more mindful and intentional life with better balance, I hope you feel seen, that you realize your worth, lighten your load, and prioritize your own needs. As we hear from leading experts and well-known faces in the wellness, entrepreneurship, education, and motherhood space, I hope you gain insights, proven practices, and learn actionable tools to help you enjoy the juggle of work, family, and everything in between with a little less stress and a lot more ease, joy, and fun. Most of all, I hope you find what you need to simplify, streamline, and supercharge your own journey of better balance and self-love. Are you with me? Let's get started. Before we get into today's episode, let me share a recent review that just came in on Amazon for the Juggle is Real Authentic Self-Care Planner. Ashley writes, so relatable, get this guide. From the beginning, I felt as though she was talking about me, and there's comfort in reading something so relatable. I'm already hooked and I'm just getting started. Thank you so much for sharing, Ashley. And if you haven't heard about the Juggle is Real Authentic Self-Care Planner yet, it's a 3-month guided journal that supports you in setting your intentions for the month by committing to yourself in small ways using 5 well-being pillars. And every day you recommit to yourself by choosing what will serve you best, by reaffirming your why, and by reminding yourself why you are worthy of the care that you invest in yourself. It's sprinkled with short stories and advice for juggling all the things. This self-care planner is an absolute lifeline for making the shift to a life with less stress, but more ease and better balance overall. Be sure to get your copy of the Juggle is Real Authentic Self-Care Planner now. It's available on Amazon, or head to the notes for this podcast episode to get the link. It makes a beautiful gift for all the busy women and new mamas in your life as well. Now let's get back to the episode. Lexi, welcome to the Juggle is Real podcast. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
You seem to be doing such an incredible job in all of the various areas that you are involved in, and you're wearing so many hats. I would just love to know a little bit more about yourself. Like, who is Lexi on a day to day basis?
Who is Lexi on a day-to-day basis? Well, this morning it was so fitting that I was coming on this podcast because the juggle was seriously real, as it is many days. But like my kids had yard saled their cereal everywhere, and you're cleaning it all up. And by kids, I mean my four kids. I had 4 and 4 years. So I have Piper, Clark, and then we got the wonderful gift surprise of twins when we went for number three. So definitely not expected, and the most amazing blessing. They're 18 months old. So, and my eldest now is 5.5. So it is true chaos in the world of me. And then I have my husband Adam, who is, my champion supporter and unbelievable. Couldn't do this without him for sure. And I own, as I'm sure you mentioned in the intro, WAXON, laser and Waxbar. And my real purpose in life through WAXON, and then, reasons why I come on podcasts like this, is to normalize what being an entrepreneur and a mom and juggling it all truly looks like, and also overall really help to empower women to take whatever that next step is. So help to normalize, to get out of your own way and pursue whatever dream you're looking to pursue. So really taking that next step. So empowering women, creating impact, and trying to really show the real side of what parenthood and entrepreneurial life looks like.
That's awesome. And I mean, it's so great to see people like you who are doing it and who are taking those steps forward, even though it's not always easy, but doing it with the mindset of it is going to work out and it is going to be beautiful. And so with all of the things that you're doing, and I see you on Instagram and you're doing cold plunges and you're making time for yourself and you're creating those pockets of authentic self-care moments for you, even in the midst of four children who are all still very young, in the midst of running a very successful franchise. I believe you have 20 different locations throughout Canada. You're traveling, you are working with teams, you are doing all sorts of things. And you recently wrote an article that I loved. It was for Today's Parent, and the headline, I think I'm going to put the link in the notes for this podcast episode so the listener can take a look as well. But the headline is, I have two nannies and no apologies. So as a mom of four, a CEO, you have this successful brand, you got lots in the go. And I want to talk about this article and I want to hear maybe some advice that you can share with the listener. But I want to know first why you felt it was important to sit down and write this piece. I mean, you've got a lot going on, but why did you take the time to write it and share it publicly?
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I appreciate that you loved the article because, especially with that headline, it took, a lot to get myself to really put it out there. And I think that then was my reason why I had to, because I feel there's a bit of a false narrative that goes around with moms and women, and this stereotype of we have to do it all. And if we are not doing it all and juggling all the things, and in that kind of like frantic, I'm here, I'm there, I'm everywhere mentality, then we're not doing a good job. And I often have, and especially on social, and especially after having the twins, this constant commentary around me that I'm, superwoman and I'm doing it all. And oh my gosh, how do you do it? And you're juggling everything and you make it look so easy. And I did not want that, because I wanted to really showcase that I have set up my village in order to support me to be able to do the things that I know I need to do to show up in the best way I can as a leader, to show up in the best way as I can as a mom, as a partner, and most importantly, for myself, so that I could be all of those things. And I wanted to show that I have four kids. I have, multiple businesses, WAXON, we have We Go There podcast. I have South, the product line. And I have two nannies. And so it's not to, be ignorant to the fact that I know my privilege and what I've created in that, but it's saying more so, let's open ourselves as women to receiving help and what that can look like for you in order for you to be able to start prioritizing yourself and your life and what you want to do for you that's going to make you show up in all the other areas more successfully.
Yes. As you were speaking, I was thinking about another interview that I did with Dr. Tracy Dalgleish, and she is a couples expert and she's a therapist. But what she says is that oftentimes, when we feel resentment, either, just towards our life, our family, sometimes as moms, we can get stuck in this place where we're like resentful of what our life has become. And Dr. Tracy says that that's a secondary emotion. So we have to dig deeper to find what that primary emotion is that's causing the resentment. And oftentimes it is that we wish we could be doing other things, or we want to be pursuing our passions, or we want to be showing up in places where we really see ourselves fitting, but we just don't know how to do that. And I love that you say in this article that you believe as moms, we have to normalize asking for help in all of the ways that we need it. And that I think is just so important because we feel like we should have to be able to do it all, just like you said, right? And that leads to so much pressure and a lot of stress, and we become so overwhelmed. And then maybe it leads to that resentment later on. So I would just love to know, how did you go about normalizing asking for help in your life? So how did you learn to do it? And what was the process like for you to get to where you are now?
I think for me, I got a little pushed into the idea of I didn't have another choice. So when I had Piper, I was raising money for the first time ever, leading into her birth, really and truly. So I was pregnant with Piper. All through my investor interviews and trying to raise money for WAXON. And then going into it, I had this glorious vision, which anyone who owns their own business would appreciate, like that I was going to take some time off, right? Like I was going to have a bit of a mat leave. This was my first baby. And I had built this up in my mind to be this beautiful time that I was going to be able to spend and leading in. And so my goal was to have this investor raise done and accomplished by then. And leading into it, I realized, oh, this is not going as planned. This is taking way more longer than I had thought. Fast forward, I'm literally in the labor and delivery room and I'm trying to close a deal as I'm giving birth to my firstborn. And no joke. And thank goodness my lawyer at the time had 4 kids and he recognized that I was in the hospital from probably the beeping and like all of the monitors around me. He's like, "Are you
The heavy breathing?
are you yeah, heavy breathing, like moaning.
Contractions. Yeah.
Yeah, all the things." And he's like, "Are you in labor? Oh my God, Lexi, like give me a call back, but like give me a call back in like 6 weeks, like 2 months, like I don't even know, like whatever. Just call me when you're, in a better frame of mind." And I was like, no, I can get this done. I can get this done. And fast forward later, 2 weeks, postpartum, I'm around the table with all of these investor men trying to close a deal. And all of it's to say I was in a position that I absolutely should not have been. But what it did force me to do, because I was in it and I was in it with a newborn and I had no idea what I was doing as a mom. I also had no idea what I was doing raising money at the time either. And so these two pieces pushed me into the fact that I had to get a nanny. My parents were traveling a lot at the time. Adam's parents live in Winnipeg. They're also not here, all the time. When they come in, it's amazing, but they're not here. So we don't have those levers to pull in a pinch. And it forced me, I needed to get a nanny. I needed to commit and lean into it. And it was the best thing that possibly could have happened. However, what I've learned since, is really that receiving help can start at like the smallest little things and just starting to make little movements towards maybe a bigger leap that you're going to take. So that might look like, last night, my girlfriend and I share taking our sons to gymnastics because they go together. And she was going to take him last night. The snowstorm, happened, and she kept Clark at her house for a while and offered to me that she would just drive him home after they're done dinner. So I was like, oh my God, bonus. One, I have one less child for dinner now, which I was not expecting. and she's going to drive him over after she's done. My initial reaction was, oh no, don't worry, I'll come pick him up. Like that was immediate, right? Like from oh, I don't want to impede on, whatever she's doing. And that's a really, annoying for her to have to do. The people are pleaser in me wants to say like, don't worry, I'll do it. I'll do it. I feel like we do that so much. She's offering. And the first thing I could possibly do is just say yes. Say, great, thank you so much. And I've just bought, additional time, not having to shovel snow off of my car and go and pick my son up. How many times do we do that in our lives, like in our day to day, and we don't even realize it? So it starts, I think, with starting small.
Yeah. And like you said, like just say yes. Like if someone is offering, oftentimes that's really a gift for them because they're wanting to do something to help you and support you. And for myself, I know too, like I just feel like, oh, no, like I feel bad. I should be able to do it. And this comes in different ways, right? In motherhood with childcare and support, it shows up all the time. In the home, it shows up. I used to have so many judgments about having someone come into our home to do cleaning. Like it was like, well, I can clean. I know what to do. These are like, I should be able to do this. Like this is, our parents did it. Why can't I do this? I should be making the time. I will say that was the biggest decision. And I include a short story in the Juggle is Real Authentic Self-Care Planner about it because it got to the point where I was just so angry anytime I had to do this major housework that I was not my best self. I'll say that. So in those ways, at work, in our careers, sometimes people are offering to support us in ways and we're micromanaging it, or we're saying no and we're going to just take care of it. Or sometimes it feels easier to do it, even though it's adding so much more to our plate. So I love that you're saying that it shows up in so many different ways. And yes, it takes a village, but sometimes it's not the grandparents, right? It's not always what we thought it would be or what we expected it to be when we were picturing whatever ideal, perception we had in our mind. And we can assume that it has to be the grandparents, but like you just said, your parents are a plane ride away. Your husband's parents live in Winnipeg, you're in Toronto. That's not just a quick jump in the car. So how can we think about our village in ways that's maybe not just calling the grandparents?
Yeah, I think it's really starting small. So if it feels a lot like in your position where bringing on someone was a big deal, right? Like how can we start to do the little things? So start to say yes to people just offering, carpooling, meal planning, there's so many meal planning programs and things like that out there. A girl that's a woman in our program, in our coaching program, just received laundry service. And it made a world of difference. It's that one little thing that's now off of your list. And then also, can we just lower maybe our expectations around when things need to get done? And this is something that I feel like we just put on ourselves. It's like, well, there has to be like the laundry has to be done on this day at this time, and the dishes can't sit in the sink longer than this amount of time. And I had a great conversation with this gal about birthday parties, and she was talking about her son who had this birthday party and he had a hockey game at the same time. And so she was trying to navigate, okay, well, how can I split the birthday party or make it to the birthday party and the hockey game? So we're going to go to the hockey game, leave a little early, and then make it to the birthday party on time. We would never make it to the birthday party a little late. We would never ourselves have our child show up late for a birthday party because we needed to fit in just 20 minutes to do something for us. This past weekend with Piper, she had a birthday party and all the moms were going and they were all invited. And I needed a minute. Like I had a really, really chaotic past 2 weeks, really. And it was my only time. The twins were napping. We don't have help on weekends. We purposefully do that. And it's something that I need to do for me. Probably going back to like the mom guilt piece. It's just something that kind of fills my bucket of needing to just be all hands on when I'm not at work. And so I had the twins sleeping. It was my moment to have me time. And that was exactly when the birthday party was. All the moms are going, and Piper's like, please, can you come? Can you come? And I said, absolutely, I will be there, but I am going to be late. Daddy's going to drop you off, and I'm going to be there an hour after it starts. And I took time for me. Did I feel the guilt in the moment? Yes. When I showed up, did I feel so much better because I just took a minute that I really needed to not have that resentment, that piece of like just feeling not my best self. And instead I showed up, and then I had an amazing time, and I was much more present in that moment with her and the other moms, and, was able to just be my better self because I took a minute for me.
I love that so much. And I see that all the time in my own life. Like, even with field trips with the kids in school, like I want to be the mom who's always at the field trip. But I have had to say no in some instances, and it's okay. The kids they're on a field trip. Like they don't really care if your mom is there or not. It makes me feel good. It doesn't really matter either way to them. And for Piper, I'm sure she loved having you there, but she was with her friends. Like I'm sure there was a ton of birthday party activities that she was enjoying. And the fact that you were there was great, but they probably didn't make or break the day for her. And can I just say, when you're talking about, lessening your expectations, can we all just like chill on the birthday party situation too? Like I love birthday parties. It's fun, but like they are getting out of control, and it's beautiful to commemorate, your children and celebrate and do these beautiful things. But, don't feel like you have to have it at some crazy place and all the decorations and it's super Pinterest board and you're giving them like these incredible, tote bags, and like, can we just like play pin the tail on the donkey and like, I don't know, eat a hot dog? Like, I don't know what the answer is, but let's all lower our expectations there, because I think that there's a lot of pressure now that goes with even the birthday party situation, right?
It is. It's the birthday party situation of like throwing them, and it's the birthday party situation of showing up at them as well, and being there. And a lot of them are drop off, but then a lot of them are like optional stay, and then you feel bad if you're not the one that doesn't stay. For me, I'm a drop off, and I come there early just to like get in some time. And to your point, like that's what your kids remember. Your kids remember that you did show up, and it's okay if you take a minute at the beginning to not be there. And I think that's what we need to remember. I was just having a conversation at, again, like a Galentine's party for the kids, which was so lovely and beautiful. And I was late, like I got there late, and my nanny dropped Piper off at the party. But I was chatting with a woman whose mom is an entrepreneur, and she's still an entrepreneur, but she grew up with her mom working. And she made me feel so good because I often, and speaking on the mom guilt piece, like there are trade-offs that I make every day, and I try and be really conscious of the trade-offs, and I try and level the field as much as I can. But some weeks are more challenging than others, and they will be, and I'm very conscious of that. What she helped me to realize is that for her, and what she saw was just an inspiration. And she, anytime she got an opportunity to write about her mom or someone who inspires her, it was always her mom and how amazing she was at, just putting herself. She didn't realize she was putting herself first, but like prioritizing herself and showing her what it means to go after whatever that thing is for her that lit her up. And that helped her to be the woman that she is today. And, she's on broadcast television, and she's, telling stories of other entrepreneurs. And it's a big kind of, that was a big reason for her, was that her mom inspired her. And so for me, I try and keep this in the back of my head as I'm doing daily practices where Piper sees me every morning run out for 3 minutes and do a cold plunge. And she sees that, and she sees me working out, and that could be with chaos all around me, but I'm trying to do a Pilates for 20 minutes just to fit something in for me. She sees all those things. And I say her because she's, 5.5 and recognizes it more. And I recognize how she's talking about prioritizing and in her own way, but like how she's showing up for her and the way that I show up for myself. I think it's a trickle effect. And so as much as we feel badly when we might feel like we're putting our kids, we can never not have them first because they are, but like behind us, in some way, in some points, we really aren't. We're really showing them what it means to then put themselves first in a way as they grow older. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you are a role model for your children. And, you know,
Yeah.
your oldest is your daughter. And so she's seeing her mom in this beautiful way. And it's only providing her with the permission that some women feel they need in order to be able to put themselves first. And the more you do this, the more you're showing her that it's possible. And for your other children who are younger, and for my sons, it's showing and breaking some of those stereotypes that I feel like our parents' generation really, you know, they had to break free from, and now we're able to do that. But it still is underlying in a lot of cases that, you know, the woman should be able to, you know, manage the household, do all the childcare, you know, take care of all of the things related to the kids, and now, you know, tackle on a full-time career and maybe a side hustle and all of the things
Mhm.
flawlessly. So you're really showing, and in this article you wrote, I just want to read this part because I think it really will resonate with the listener. You say, we knew, so you're speaking about you and your husband, we knew we needed help so that we could continue to show up in the best way possible for our kids, allowing us to strike a balance between being able to work and build our businesses while raising our family and maintaining relationships with each other. Because I know, like, that's often like my husband and I are kind of like two ships passing in the night. And I know that you really make an effort to maintain that connection with your spouse. So I want to talk about guilt a little bit, but before we move on, can you just give us some final thoughts on how we can really just move into the act of receiving different forms of help? Maybe we don't have people who are like coming up to us asking us how they can help us every single day, or maybe we do, but what's your advice for how we can both seek out and then say yes? You know, in that moment when you're saying, oh, I'm feeling the guilt, I'm feeling like I shouldn't, but I do say yes. Like, what has helped you, or what can you recommend that the listener do to really receive the support they need?
I think leaning into the reasons why you feel you're not deserving of the help. So you mentioned, you know, how you were brought up. For me, my mom was the ultimate mom. Like in the stereotypical, and this is like not to say anything negative, but the stereotypical what a mom, quote unquote, should look like, or did look like. And so, you know, my dad would come home and it was a beautiful meal on the table every night. I had notes in my lunch boxes. I had the best lunches ever at school. Like people wanted to trade me for all of my snacks because they were so perfect. She'd show up for everything and she had it all together. Just looked fabulous all the time. She still does today. Um, she'd walk by, like speed walk by our school because she was getting some fitness in for her with her girlfriend. She'd do coffee. She had an amazing social life, like literally the picture perfect mom kind of stereotype. And so for me, it was understanding that that's not going to be what my mom journey looks like. And that took a lot to break out of. So I think it starts with recognizing, like, where are we denying help? Because I felt like, oh no, I can't allow someone else to do these things because, as you know, I was brought up with my mom doing all these things for me. For example, like meals at night and how we're, you know, preparing dinner for our kids. Like that was something I felt so much pressure at the beginning that I needed to be doing and making it so perfect. That's not something I love. I don't love cooking. I love like baking with my kids on weekends, but that's not my jam. And I'm not very good at it. And so that was something I leaned into off the beginning. Like everyone is better off without my cooking. And even Adam will watch me. He's like, you're just not efficient in the kitchen. I was like, no, I'm not. Like, step up. And he does. Like he prefers preparing meals over the me. So I think recognizing those things. What are the quick things that are going to actually make the biggest impact, that we can start to ask, you know, our partner to step in a little more on? They're right there. And oftentimes, like, they want to make, you know, you go back to the relationship, they want to make your relationship stronger. They want the connection there. And so being able to openly communicate when you're feeling these rising tensions in you, when you're feeling that overwhelm of saying, you know what, this is too much for me right now. we got to kind of lay out all the things and how can we work together to maybe balance this playing field a little more, and so that I can start to feel like me again and feel like I'm showing up in the best way possible. One of the ways that Adam and I have found super effective is at least once a year, we sit, and we usually do it around New Year's. We like to share our personal goals for the year, helps to hold each other a little accountable to those goals that we have individually. And then we create goals in our relationship, and we create goals in our parenting. So one goal this year or boundary that we have is from 5 to 8 p.m., we are holding each other accountable to no phones around us and no devices in general. We put down our phones, and now the expectation can be held for our kids that they're not watching their iPad while we're trying to scramble and put dinner, get them to eat dinner. And we went down a slippery slope. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Like, there was iPads out, we were on our phones, and all of a sudden we looked at each other and we're like, we're on Instagram watching other families while we're in front of our own family. Like, we're missing our own magic. So it's just, maybe taking a point where you and your partner can come together and decide, like, what are some things that we could put in place that help us hold each other accountable, and maybe help you lean into receiving a little help, or things that are going to make you feel a little more at ease in your, journey.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's interesting that you said too something that you're removing from your life, even just, the devices for short periods. Sometimes it feels more supportive when you're removing things that are not serving you, or the shoulds, or that can be a lot of help in and of itself, not baking for the kids bake sale, or not being, I used to feel like I had to be on the parent council for my kids' school. The last 2 years I've not been. And just that alone, like, that is supporting me, because it's allowing me the time that I would typically spend there to maybe even be with my kids more. Like, my kids, they don't know that I'm on the parent council. That's just time away from being with them. Or it can be additional time where I can do things that I need to do for myself. So I appreciate how you're asking for help, you're seeking out support, you're saying yes when it is offered to you, and you're also releasing things that aren't helping you in these pursuits. It's just so beautiful. I just want to touch on guilt for a minute, because it's kind of come up. And I know when we're talking about receiving help, like, the guilt kind of goes hand in hand with that. So you are hoping to normalize receiving help, and you want the listener to prioritize that help in whatever way that it is. So you said sometimes the guilt does still creep up for you. So how do you prioritize help in a world that really tries to make women feel guilty for having needs? I mean, we feel guilty enough on our own, right? It creeps up here and there, but also society is also perpetuating that we should be able to do it, and we should have all this energy, and we should be able to, manage everything beautifully. So how do you continue to prioritize help when sometimes that guilt creeps up, or we're told that we should have to do it all?
It's so challenging at times, yet I find the more I lean into really recognizing the trade-offs that I'm making and making them consciously. So field trips. At first, I was the same. One of my girlfriends and Piper's best friend's mom, she did the field trip thing, and I wasn't there. And Piper came home. Victoria's mom was on the field trip, and I immediately felt so bad. Like, oh my gosh, I'm not the mom that's on the field trip, and I should be the mom that's on the field trip. But how am I ever going to be the mom that's on the field? Like, it just is like this vicious cycle going through your head. And I then realized I don't want to be the mom on the field trip. That's actually not going to fill my bucket. And it's not going to give Piper any, or Violet, or Clark, or Nash. This one was Piper, but it's not what they need either, because I'm not going to be my best self in that moment. Like I just don't need to be that person, but I can lean in on other areas that I want to be. Like I love doing surprise pickups at school, and I love, balancing drop-offs, and Adam and I split drop-offs. I enjoy those pieces, and surprising them, and, taking them out for a lunch, like picking them up from school on a Friday when I haven't really seen them that often, and saying, you know what, I'm going to pick you up early and we're going to go for a surprise lunch, and just doing spur of the moment things. So those are some of the things my mom did that I actually can lean into, and it makes me feel so good. And I enjoy that. And it's going to be really great memories. So I feel like part of this is being able to recognize those areas that you can drop, and it may feel guilty at that time, but you could replace it with something that's going to actually fill both your buckets and be a little more effective. And then the more that I lean into prioritizing myself, so that means showing up late for that birthday party and me fitting in a workout. In the moment, I felt such guilt. When I showed up, I felt a little silly. And then I realized, actually, if I had not gotten that in, I wouldn't have shown up as the mom that I did throughout the rest of that day. In the mornings, when I run out and do like a 3-minute cold plunge, I usually do it in a moment where I'm feeling like I'm going to break, and I run out. I just have a minute to myself. I take some breaths, and I come back and I reset. I'm not going to be as triggered. So I feel that the more you lean into it and figure out, the most important thing is figuring out what the thing is that you can fit into your life that isn't going to feel like a mountain, but you can start to just dabble it in and see the benefit. And slowly, for me, it melts away the mom guilt, because it's replaced with a better version of myself, and therefore a better mom to my kids.
Yeah, you have the evidence that it's helping you in so many more ways than whatever that was that you were going to do that you're feeling guilty about, right? Instead of haphazardly, or not really being present in the moment because you're exhausted, or that you have so many other things to do. You're actually taking the time for yourself so that you can show up, and in the time you have, it's more meaningful. So I guess it's to start small and to do the little things, and the guilt kind of melts away. Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Let's not make this a big task. And I think we think we have to take an hour for ourselves. What if you just took a couple minutes to start? What if you just took a pause and got away from it all and left the tasks that you have on your list for 10 minutes longer? There's so many ways. And I think that was a gift during COVID, that there's so many things out there now that are quick fixes. And it's just like little escapes. So 10-minute breath work, if that's your thing. You can do a 10-minute like arm series in Pilates if, fitness is important to you. There's ways that you can squeeze that in. And let's be real, we're probably sitting on social media for far more than that amount of time. So when it comes in your head that, I should do this today, go and do it right then. Like if you can right then, because you're probably thinking about it because you have a moment, try and go and do it. Stop putting up our own barriers and then feeling really bad about ourselves because we didn't take any time for ourselves today. And now we're in this vicious cycle of negative judgments that are popping to our heads because we feel down about all of the things. We didn't fit in time to make ourselves feel good. And we're feeling frustrated because our kids are, having tantrums and are really, just giving it to us that day.
Yeah, it all counts. It all counts. And I think that it's so important that you're doing it, and often you're starting your day that way. Like when we can start from a place of feeling full, feeling that we are taken care of, then we have the ability to care for others. And I know you are often, juggling a lot of things as an entrepreneur, as a CEO and founder. You've got a lot on the go. And with WAXON Laser and Waxbar, your mission is not only to support and empower and elevate women. It's both in the services that you provide, right, in your locations, but also in the ability to step into their own power with the ability to franchise and to be entrepreneurs themselves. And I love your mission of supporting women. So can you speak to this? as we're closing out, I just want to know a little bit more about WAXON and your vision for supporting women in building confidence, independence, and wealth. Tell us about that.
So I started WAXON, and originally I was growing them corporately, and that means opening locations myself. So I have 6 locations that I own. And what lit me up then was the people in the business and our clients, it being so female centric, and that I was creating this amazing culture that didn't exist at the time, that we could employ women in an industry, the aesthetic industry, that really had this, stereotype around it as being a catty business and a catty industry. And I really didn't like that was associated with women whatsoever. And so my goal when I started was to create this amazing culture where we hire women, and we have, 200 plus women that work for WAXON today. And we provide a space where they can live confidently and they can create careers and jobs for themselves. And then fast forward, as I started to dabble in with franchising, and I had a really strong resistance against it because I'm so tied to the brand that we have and the equity and the experience that we provide at WAXON and the culture that we create for the people that work at WAXON. How could someone else come in and create that same experience? I started to franchise and started with really 4 women at the beginning, all either business owners already, changing careers for themselves, moms, and really the consistent other underlying theme is they were just looking for more. They were looking for some next step that they could do for them that didn't involve them just starting their own business from scratch, because that just seems so daunting, but something where they could be their own boss, have their own opportunity to build something for themselves, but with all the tools, all the support, and all the guidance that they needed. And this suddenly, just like a light bulb went off for me in the passion that I have around women and empowering women to take their next step, was, oh my gosh, I could be doing this within WAXON. And that's what we're doing today. We really are leaning into how can we help women take a step and provide an opportunity, which is owning a WAXON. And through that opportunity, you get to own your own business, but you also can show up for the pickups and drop-offs, and you can fit in the things that you love to do at home, and you can prioritize yourself. Like owning a business for sure, and even owning a WAXON, like you're going to have your challenges, but at least we're giving a system and supportive tools, and you get to kind of be part, not kind of, you're really truly part of this family within WAXON that that supports you and empowers you. And so, the stories of women that come in, I have one that's never worked a day in her life, and she owns one of our locations. Prior to WAXON, she never worked a day in her life, and she now owns one of our locations, and she's doing so phenomenally well, and she owns her own business, and it lights me up. So in my journey to, really help to inspire and empower women to bet on themselves, this is one way that I'm able to do it. And it's through a business that humbly, I built, and I never saw that piece of it being possible until I started to lean in and release actually some of that control around WAXON and allow others to grow it alongside me, which is so exciting.
So exciting. And, it's kind of fitting too, that in discussing how we can receive support through this podcast interview, I mean, you now are receiving support by allowing others to own their own locations, to do it themselves, and to create that culture and that experience in places that you are not in. And also you're allowing those franchisees to receive the support of this turnkey operation where they are owning their own business, but they're not doing it all alone. They have the help and the tools that they need in order to be successful, in order to do it in a way that really speaks to how they want to operate a business. So kudos to you, Lexi. It's so incredible to see how you are shining and how you're receiving the help that you need so that you can help others and support yourself along the way. It's been so great chatting with you. And just before we leave, a final question I like to ask all guests is about their ongoing journey with self-care in authentic ways. So We know you're busy. We've kind of gotten that through this conversation, but how do you consciously choose authentic self-care practices for yourself to help you manage everything on the go? Before we go, tell us one thing that you are doing and one thing that you are not doing. I know we've talked about it a lot, but any final comments for the self-care piece?
One thing I am doing and I love doing is waking up early. And it is how I can fit in those moments. I'm a big journaler, and as you are clearly, and I love to have that moment for me. And I recommend, even if you're not a morning person, to just try and wake up a little earlier and have those moments in the morning for you, because they can be so impactful in setting your day off in the best way possible, and getting you off on the right foot right away. One thing I'm not doing, and I'm really conscious of not doing, is saying no, to your point, in not over scheduling and over committing. I'm a recovering people pleaser, and it's really easy to just say yes, but really staying in tune with, is that yes good for me? Is it something I truly am going to be excited when it comes up on my calendar to be going to, or doing, or whatever it might be? But it needs to light me up in order for it to be an additional in my schedule right now. So saying no to more things in order to say yes to the things that are going to help me fill my bucket.
I love that. I love that so much. Yeah. You say no to the things that don't matter so that you can be there for the things that truly do. Love
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
Love it. Thank
Exactly.
you
Thank you
so
so
much for
much.
this conversation. It's been so great chatting with you, Lexi.
Same. I appreciate you having me on and having this place.
I am so inspired by Lexi and all she's doing and all that she is not doing. She's kind of making me want to go do a cold plunge. I don't know if that's my thing or not, but maybe it's what we all need. I'm so grateful that you took the time to invest in yourself so you can normalize receiving help in your own life and releasing the guilt that really isn't serving you. If you found value in this conversation, if you know someone who could get this message and start saying yes to the support they need, I encourage you to share this with a friend. Please rate it and write me a review on Apple Podcasts. It really helps to support other people in hearing this important information and gaining the permission that they might need to put themselves first and prioritize themselves in their own life. You can learn more about Lexi, WAXON, and all of the incredible things that they are doing in the notes for this podcast episode. And until the next episode of the Juggle is Real podcast, take good care.